Hello, this is old Mr. Kent of MrKent.com. I'm 82 years old and I'm telling my life story as I ride around on my E-Trike. and so if you're interested in things like that, well, stick around. Or if you want to start from the very beginning on the first E-Trike ride, at the end of this video, there's a link that says life story. You go there and there'll be a playlist of all the E-Trike rides that I've made. So anyway, let's get started on today's stories. I think I got 3 stories which I can fit into this video. So the first one is, these are going to be about flying at night. The first one is when I was coming back from somewhere on a trip, and I was up at 7,000 feet, and I was headed east. And when you're flying at night, the only thing you can see is your instrument panel and the lights on the ground. Otherwise, everything is black, unless you have a big, bright full moon or something. But on that particular night, it was black. And flying along, and then all of a sudden, from the upper right-hand corner down to the left-hand corner, which seemed like it took forever, but it was probably about 5 or 10 seconds, a meteorite came falling through the sky, and it was green, bright green, and very bright. In fact, it lit up the cabin of the plane the whole time, and it wasn't like daylight, but it was really bright in there. So it was a big old bright ball, and the only thing I can figure is when copper oxidizes, it's green. So I'm guessing that meteorite had a lot of copper in it. It could have been a satellite, because they have a lot of copper in them. I don't know. Anyway, that just lit up the screen, and I had never seen anything like that. Never seen it since again. So that's one little strange story. And then the second one's a little bit more exciting. My family had, let me think for a second here. I got to get the right story here. Yeah, my family. Okay, let me think. I might have to cut this part out because I'm trying to remember what stories I'm going to tell you this time. Okay, I got so many stories that I forget. So anyway, my family, we lived in Pasco, Washington, and my wife's folks lived in Lewiston, Idaho, and that was about an hour flight over the north end of the Blue Mountains. And so we had borrowed the camper. They had a pickup and camper, and we had borrowed it to go camping. My wife, she always likes to go to the ocean. And so we got back from our camping trip, and we had to return the truck and camper, which was, we had to return it. But anyway, there wasn't any hurry or anything. And I don't remember all the details, but we started late in the day, and what the plan was my wife would drive the camper and the 2 little children and go on the road to take the camper back to Lewiston, and I would just fly over and pick them up and bring them back home again. And so I hung around the house for a while doing other things while they took off, and about an hour after they left, because it takes over 2 hours to drive from Pasco to Lewiston, Idaho. At least it used to, because it was all 2-lane roads. And so they were on the road for an hour or so, and I thought, well, I'm gonna fly down low, follow the road, and find the camper. And so I was going along really slow and just flying along and looking for the camper on the road. And pretty soon, on the other side will be far side of Dayton from Pasco. There they were climbing up a hill. So I kind of waited around until they got into a big open area, and I wanted to come down in front of them and buzz them. And by now it was getting to be dusk. It was getting to be kind of late. But anyway, so I came along and I buzzed them, and of course they thought that was pretty cool. I found out later, but anyway, so then I climbed. I had to get up to over 5,000 feet. I don't remember now exactly what it was, in order to get over that north end of the Blue Mountains there. And so I climbed up, and I'm going along, and of course it's getting darker and darker, and I knew there was a storm over the mountains because, well, I had seen the black clouds and everything, but it wasn't cloudy between where I was and where Lewiston was. And so I'm flying along, and it kept getting darker and darker, and it got dark enough that, you know, it was like night. And then all of a sudden, the lightning struck right in front of me, and it was like a stick man. I mean, it came down, had two legs coming out, had a couple of arms out on either side, and so somebody's turning their car around or something here. Anyway, and so it was kind of strange, and it only, you know how lightning is, bam, and it's there. Well, if you've ever stared at something like for 30 seconds to a minute and then close your eyes, you can see a reversed image of it. I don't know if you ever noticed that. But so that was what it only just took a couple of seconds. And so I was totally blinded, except for I could see that image. I couldn't see the instrument panel. I couldn't see anything. And that image was impressed on my eyes of that stick man. And it seemed like forever, but I imagine it was only 10, 20 seconds or something. And I began to get my eyesight back. Well, I decided with the lightning striking right in front of me between me and Lewiston, it'd be a good idea if I just turned around and went home. So that's what I did. I made a U-turn. Well, actually, I couldn't see my instrument panels for what? Couldn't see my instruments for a while. So finally, I could see them, and I turned around and I headed home. And then when I got home, I called Grandma and said, tomorrow I'll come pick them up. And so anyway, that's another story. And I got time. I think I got time for the third story, because to me it's the most foolish and dumbest thing I ever did at night. My folks lived in Bonnie Lake, Washington, which is just a short distance from Enumclaw, Washington, where there was a an airport. And so, good morning. You headed that way? I'll just go this way.
Oh, that's okay.
Anyway, there was an airport in Enumclaw, and I mean it was some airport. It was made on farmland. They were in the process of putting it together, I think, and nothing was level. And even the runway, and you landed, it slanted to the left. So anyway, but it was there, and so my folks could come pick us up and take us to their house. And I had made a few trips over there. And then the first time I landed there, now in my 170, there's a shutoff, there's a valve on the floor that can switch on the right tank or the left tank. And so, you know, I just usually put it on both, and then it would, you know, they both drain about the same. And so I landed there, and my folks came picked us up, and then when I came back to leave, the whole area smelled like gasoline, because that little pipe that comes down from the right tank and the pipe that comes down from the left tank, with the plane sitting at an angle on the parking area, not all the fuel, but the fuel had been transferring itself from from the right tank to the left tank. And see, I guess go this way. And so, I still had enough fuel to fly home. But then I learned next time when I land to put it on one tank or the other, because if you put it on one tank, then it's not going to drain through to the other tank. So that's how that works. So anyway, I took the two kids over to visit my folks, and my wife and I talked about this. I don't remember why she didn't go. She was probably making quilts. That's what she likes to do. Anyway, and so we went over there and we stayed with my folks for a while, and 2 or 3 days or whatever. And then it was time to come back. Well, on the day I needed to come back, and I think I must have had to get back for my job or something. On the day I I needed to come back. It was cloudy in the area where I was, but it was clear in Pasco. Remember, now Pasco, Washington's on the eastern side of the Cascade Mountains, and it's generally clear. But on the western side of the mountains, it's usually cloudy because the air is climbing to go up over the Cascade Mountains. So anyway, it was clear. It was cloudy, so I thought, well, I don't get to go home today, and because I checked with Pasco and their skies were clear. So anyway, so we went to see my sister at her house that evening, and we were coming back, and I was sitting in the back seat, and see if I can get around here. I was sitting in the back seat, and I looked out the window, and I looked up, and there were stars in the sky. So I looked out, and I said, it's clear. It looks clear. I can take off at night, from the little Enumclaw Airport. And so I said, if you guys don't mind, let's just get us to the airport. We'll go home and get our stuff and pack it into the airplane and go. And so that's what we did. And so in the process of not bothering to look at my checklist, which is what you're supposed to do, I go around here, come down here. I forgot to put I won't tell you. So anyway, we quickly taxied down the end of the runway, turned around, and took off. It's nighttime now, okay? It's dark. And I had to climb up because there were clouds over the Cascade Mountains, and I had to climb up to 10,000 feet in order to get above those clouds. And so I climbed up and I started circling, and as I was circling, I could see the jets taking off from the Seattle-Tacoma Airport and things like that as I got higher, and I had to just keep circling. And then I looked, and where I had taken off, where the lights were, where I took off, it was being slowly covered up with clouds, which means there is absolutely no way I can go back. I was committed to fly over those mountains to get to Pasco. And so I circled and circled. Finally, I got up to 10,000 feet, and I was watching the jets take off and land from Seattle-Tacoma Airport, SeaTac, they call it. And finally, I was headed I could go east over the mountains. And I don't remember for sure, but I think I could see the tops of the clouds because of the moonlight or something. And so I was flying along, and you know how, and the kids were in their sleeping bags in the back seat sleeping. I mean, they were asleep 5 minutes after we took off. So we're going along and flying over the mountains, and I'm a little bit nervous because I can't go back, and it's nighttime. And I've heard stories of things like this, that you start to hear sounds in the engine that you've never heard before. And it was long. I mean, this was like I had to fly for at least an hour over the clouds, and you're just sitting there, and you don't see anything moving underneath of you. You're just headed in the right direction, and and there was a MOA, military operations area that I had to go around, and so I had to just go east for a long, long time. And I got, finally I saw, as you get to the eastern side of the mountains, you begin to see lights on the ground. And I could see over to my right, several miles, many, many miles, I could see the lights of Yakima, Washington. And so I could see that it was starting to clear up. And at that point in time, I thought, maybe it'd be wise to just go land at Yakima, because I can see that they've got, it's clear enough to land there. And so that's background music from my video. Anyway, so but I thought, no, I'm just going to keep going. And so finally I could look down, every once in a while I could see some lights passing by below. And so that was a relief, because now I knew that it was clearing up. And finally I got to the point where I could see all the lights on the ground. And then I had to turn south to get around that MOA. And so I turned south, and then I could also start descending. In fact, I was descending, and there was a big old huge cloud just sitting out in the middle of nowhere. I had to fly around that. And it was, I got home at 1 o'clock from this. So it was getting really late. And I'm coming down, and I got closer and closer to the Pasco airport. Of course, it was closed. You didn't have to talk to the tower. And I thought, now this was an old 1950 airplane that didn't have any lighting, so I had to grab my flashlight and see how much fuel I had. Well, when I looked at the fuel gauge, for the fuel gauges were actually at the end of the wing, where attached to the cabin. There was a little fuel gauge over there on the gauge, one on this side, one on that side. And so I looked at it, and it was on empty. The fuel tank that I had been using was on empty. The other one was pretty much had a lot of gas in it. What I had forgotten to do in my hurry and not checking my checklist, I had forgotten to put it on both tanks, because I had switched it to one tank so it wouldn't drain out of the plane like it had done that very first time. So I looked at that, and all of a sudden I panicked. I thought, wow. And then got to stop here. And then excuse me. So then naturally I immediately put it on both tanks. If I had been flying over the mountains, I was already scared. And if I had started to run out of fuel, I don't know if I would have been smart enough to check both tanks or not. I would have thought it was something wrong with the engine, because you know how you hear things. Anyway, so that's the most foolish night flight I've ever made. I should not have taken off in the first place, but I had what they call get-home-itis. So anyway, that's today's story. I want to thank you for listening, and God bless.